If I said you right now today, for this upcoming season, is the Big 12 or the Pac-12 the better football conference?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now for the upcoming season, I would say that the Pac-12 is a deeper conference overall. When you look at it from top to bottom, I think the Pac-12 is just a tougher conference. USC and UCLA have not left yet. They still have one more season. And I think because of that, that makes the Pac-12 a better conference on the football field than the Big 12 right now. Now, next year, that's a different conversation, obviously. But I think when you look at Lincoln Riley and what he's done at USC in this offseason in the recruiting window, it's nothing short of sensational. I mean, they've added big talent after big talent. I look at the fact that Kyle Whittingham in Utah, again, that defense is going to be better. Brant Keithy's back. You've got Cam Rising coming back. Hopefully that knee is ready to go. Everyone says he's on pace, but we'll see. You never know. But assuming that all is well, in Salt Lake, you would expect Utah to be very good. And then, of course, there's Oregon and Washington to the north that are always solid. So I think for those reasons, I look at the top four teams in the Pac-12, and I do contend that those top four teams are better than the top four teams in the Big 12. But then I look at the rest of the conference. Stanford is the worst team in the Pac-12, in my opinion. But even they are better than some of the bottom feeders in the Big 12. So I think top to bottom, the Pac-12 is the deeper conference. But again, it remains to be seen how it will play out.
I think it's really interesting when you look at some of the numbers that came out today, and I think it was Brett Yormark had this tweet about who is favored and who is not favored in the majority of their games.
Brett McMurphy.
I said Brett Yormark.
You said Yormark, yeah.
Same thing.
Brett,
They're the same. I've never seen them in the same room.
It's the same
Bretts.
thing. Yeah, it's the same.
But Brett McMurphy came out with that list, and then you look at in the Big 12, look at the preseason media poll. And what's really interesting to me here is not that necessarily Texas is on top. Well, I think we all recognize that Texas is going to disappoint, but I actually think they are the best team in the Big 12. But look how far down TCU is. TCU fifth in the preseason media poll. As we've talked about on this show, I think a huge year upcoming for Texas Tech.
Mm-hmm.
I think K-State is very interesting in that I think you lost a lot of talent to the NFL. I think when you talk about guys like Deuce Vaughn, Malik Knowles, I mean, you lost a lot of talent. And I think if K-State is going to repeat, they're going to have some guys we don't know about step up.
Right.
I think that's interesting. You look at Gundy at Oklahoma State, right in the middle of the conference. UCF at 8. Look at the bottom 3. Houston, Cincinnati, really the bottom 4. BYU, Houston, and Cincinnati. Obviously, that's significant because they're all newcomers. But look at West Virginia. And you guys wonder why Morgantown is not in the camera shot.
Because it's garbage.
They're saying West Virginia only got 129 total votes in the Big 12. Now, I bring this up because this is a really good conference. I mean, one of the other teams you notice there is Brett Venables in Oklahoma. A lot of people think that Brett Venables in Oklahoma are going to have a bounce-back year. They better, because I think this conference really needs the Blue Bloods to step up.
Yeah.
Because right now, even UCF at, 8, I think is lofty. UCF, BYU, Cincinnati, and Houston have a hill to climb, if we're being totally honest. So that's 4 big members of your conference that's more than a quarter that you can't count on to win week in and week out in the conference. So if you're not going to get Texas, if Texas disappoints, and let's say Texas is a 3-loss team, they're not winning this conference.
Right.
They are not. So it's going to be really interesting to see how all of this comes together in the Big 12. And then I think, much to your point, Jake, when you look at the Pac-12, I don't think there's any surprises here. I think when you look at Utah, that's the best defense in the conference. And frankly, I think it's one of the best defenses in the entire country. I think the Utah Utes, and I know water's wet and the Utes are phenomenal on defense.
Facts.
That defensive line, and the name you need to watch at Utah in the secondary is Cole Bishop. Because I think that kid is one of the best safeties in the country and nobody talks about him. And I think you let that kid get downhill, you let him hit a dude, you let him get behind a football, and you're in real trouble. And if that D-line is getting to the quarterback and Cole Bishop is playing fast downhill football, they're going to be unbeatable. Now, they've also got to go to Baylor. They've also got to go to, USC on the road early in the season. The early season schedule for Utah is incredibly difficult. The lofty expectations at USC, incredibly difficult to live up to. But having said that, I expect some of the lower mid-table Pac-12 teams. I can only espouse about Oregon State for so long.
Yep.
I can only say that I believe Jed Fish is doing great things at Arizona. I think they're on the rise. I mean, screw ASU. They're never going to win anything, right? But
yeah.
I think, obviously, Stanford, Cal is coaching. Wilcox is coaching for his job at Cal, I think.
Yep.
I would expect Washington, Oregon, Utah, and SC to be rock solid.
Yeah, that's the top cut.
Yeah, I would expect Oregon State to be right below that group. And obviously, DJ is going to have to play some really good football for the Beavs if they want to do anything in Corvallis, have any kind of success. I mean, DJ Uiagalelei is going to have a hell of a year to do that. But, man, I'm here to tell you, I think the Pac-12 is a better football conference than the Big 12, and we spent hours and hours and hours, that's a lie, trying to put together, the comparisons and stuff. That never happened. But, we've spent a lot of time contrasting the Big 12 and the Pac-12, and I think the Pac-12 is the better football conference. I don't know that that's really that controversial. I don't know.
That's not a hot take?
Well, no, I honestly, I don't think it is.
Yeah, I think you look at a team like Oregon State, and I only bring Oregon State up again because they're that team that doesn't get a lot of love. I think a lot of people who are not familiar with Oregon State or maybe who are SEC folks or Big 12 folks or whatever, just not Pac-12 people, don't understand the quality and, by the way, the schedule that Oregon State has been handed this year. So you look at their schedule, and I only bring this up to kind of speak to the fact that Oregon State's going to be a problem. So San Jose State, that's a win. UC Davis is a win. The vaunted, incredible, amazing San Diego State, I would expect Oregon State to win that game. Washington State, you're going to win. And then again, as he just said, you have Utah at home. So that's going to be a big game. If you can beat Utah, which I don't think you will, but let's say you found a way to do that, now you're really cooking with gas. But I look at Cal. That's a win. That should be a win.
But ask yourself about Washington State.
That should be a win all day.
But I think what Jake Dickert's done in Pullman, flying under the radar, because he's got a real problem as a president, and Kurt Schultz, in my opinion, who is taking up massive headlines. You look at the fact that Cam Ward is back at Washington State.
Mm-hmm. This
is year 2 in the program now. I think they're going to be significantly improved. So, maybe are they, of these 12 teams, they're probably top 6.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I guess.
If you look at the bottom of the conference, I think we would all agree Stanford's probably the worst team in the conference, right? I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Yep.
But here's a really important question about the Pac-12. Is Deion Sanders already set up to fail there? Because Brett McMurphy put out this list of teams that were favored or not favored.
Mm-hmm.
And they are underdogs at Colorado. They're underdogs in 11 of their 12 games. The only team worse than that is Stanford, who's an underdog in all 12 games.
Uh-huh.
If Deion Sanders wins 3 games, they're going to throw parades for him.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I was going to say. Like, if you're an underdog to that level, I almost, my take would be, hey, you're almost set up to succeed because everyone thinks you're going to fail anyway. So if you do fail, it's like, yeah, well, it's his first year in the program. Like, it's kind of hard. Like, you saw, he stripped down that roster, brought a ton of kids in through the portal. Like, yeah, there's a lot happening there. So, 3 wins in your first season for Deion and your first P5, D1, set up. Yeah, that's pretty good, especially at a school like Colorado that hasn't seen success in I don't know how long. Yeah, that's a pretty good year. So if dude somehow finds a way to overachieve and win 5 games, let's say.
Oh my God.
They're going to be throwing parades and going ham in Boulder. And that's fine. That's cool. But I just think when I look at the Pac-12, again, that's why I say, like, the lower end team in the Pac-12 has more potential and more in my opinion, is more likely to overachieve than the low-end team in the Big 12. Like if I said, hey, who do we think has a better chance to win 5 games? Do we think that Cincinnati or Deion has a better chance to win 5 games? Well, I mean, you can make a case both ways.
But by default, don't you have to take the Natty? I mean, I think you have to. I'm not. If Deion Sanders wins 5 games, I'll give him my toes. I'm serious. If Deion wins 5 games,
that was a hey, he almost had to cut his foot off reference. That was.
If you have to explain it, it really wasn't that funny. My point is, if Deion wins 5 games,
right,
just give him the National Coach of the Year. Make them conference champions. You just put him in the damn thing. Crown him already.
Right.
Right?
Already crowned Colorado.
Seriously, if Deion Sanders wins 5 games at Colorado, do you know, heaven and earth, that's not enough moving to win 5 games in Boulder.
Yeah.
That team is going to be rough.
When is parade?
And I think, well, parade's not for many years, sir.
When is parade?
Parade is not for many years. And I say that because they have talent. I think Shedeur Sanders is probably top half of the Pac-12 in these 12 conferences, in the 12 conference as it stands now. I think Shedeur Sanders is probably top 6 quarterbacks in the league.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you when you have Hunter out there, like you have talent. You have a really good coaching staff. That's great. You're going to win 3 games. Yeah. He wins 5 games. My hot damn, they make a bowl game, and I mean, just fire Nick Saban and hire Prime. What would it take for Prime to win 6 games at Colorado?
Injuries to other teams.
Oh, my God.
Injuries to other teams.
Caleb Williams, his nuts would have to fall off.
Yeah.
Like, it'd have to be, well, let's hope not. But it'd have to, ow. It'd have to be catastrophic.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Like, every other quarterback and DJ Uiagalelei would have to stay healthy and throw 10 interceptions a game. Sorry,
that was probably a little extreme.
It probably was a little extreme. But I'm pretty convinced. Colorado's, if Stanford's 12th, Colorado's 11th. And then I think you're looking at, I think Kenny Dillingham's ultimately going to do a nice job in Tempe.
Right.
But right now, he's 10th. Right? And then you're talking about Cal. And I understand that, look, they've got 10 guys back, 10 starters back. It doesn't mean dick. You're not a good program. It's seriously. And I'm not even trying to hate.
It's garbage.
It means nothing that they have 10 people back.
Cal or West Virginia, bro?
Your mom. Like,
because it's garbage.
Bullet. Like, I'm telling you, Cal, they never win anything.
Yeah.
So it's cool, and everybody's like, oh, they've got 10 starters back. The band's on the field. No, it's not. No, it's not. You're going to lose to Stanford.
Ain't no reset.
Right? Yeah, seriously. They won't lose. Nobody's losing to Stanford. But if you look at the top 8 teams in the Pac-12, they can win against anybody any Saturday in college football. Arizona, certainly. I think what Jed Fish has there, you look at you know, Jaden DeLora, obviously that's a huge get back for them. Seriously, you know, like you look at, I mean, Jacob Singer's a huge loss to SC. There's no way to sugarcoat that or absorb that loss in Tucson. That's a huge loss. But Jaden DeLora, I think that's a big deal. They were 5-7 last year. I think Jed Fish has done a good job bringing guys in. I think they win games they shouldn't win. I think espoused about what Jake Dickert's doing at Washington State.
Right.
I think he's the best coach they've had in a number of years there. Certainly, I think he's the first guy that gets you past Mr. Mask Guy.
Excuse me, Mr. Mask Guy?
Yeah, Rolacock.
Right.
The coronavirus.
I think Chip Kelly's going to not do a thing this year. I think they're not going to be good. You're transitioning out of probably your best quarterback, at least in the modern era, in DTR. I don't know how you replace that.
Well, he's still not there. He was been there for like 8 years, bro.
I don't think he's ever going to graduate. But then you get to my guy Johnny Smith and the Beavs. I love Johnny's Beavers, and I'm just telling you.
Don't touch me there. That, sir, is my no-no square.
I'm telling you, the Oregon State Beavers are going to be very good.
Yes.
They're going to be a problem.
Yes.
That Oregon win last year was not an accident. I don't want to hear about how, you know, your boy Bo Nix had a groin bruise and I don't care.
Yeah.
You went to Corvallis and your dreams died.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, next question.
But Having said that, I think Jonathan Smith and Oregon State are much better. And then when you get into the top 4 teams in this conference, just flip a coin. Because I'm also not somebody that believes that Dan Lanning has vastly improved Oregon. I don't believe that Oregon with Bo Nix, I don't believe they're better than Utah. I don't believe they're better than SC. And the best fucking team in the conference is probably Washington. If we're being honest, I think Washington's probably the best team. Having said all that, I think this is a better football conference than the Big 12.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's not really getting around that. Again,
I left you speechless.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I just don't think it's that crazy of a thing to say. I mean, again, if we're looking at the bottom half of the conference, because that's ultimately what makes the argument. Again, like if I said, hey, TCU's playing Oregon, well, that's a coin flip, man. That just depends on who makes, the least amount of mistakes in that particular game on that particular day on that particular field. I mean, that's, you know what I mean? Like the best of the Big 12 versus the best of the Pac-12 is very tight. So I don't really, when I'm looking at these rankings, if you will, or trying to measure these conferences, I'm looking at the bottom half. So yeah, I'd rather have, Arizona than obviously like Cincinnati. I'd rather have, Oregon State versus, BYU, let's say, or whatever. Like, I just think that the Pac-12, top to bottom, is a more quality conference, and the Pac-12's garbage is less trash than the Big 12's garbage.
But I think if you look at the top of this conference, and let's just pretend it's Washington and Texas.
Yeah.
The thing in that game is if Texas stays healthy, and the creek don't rise.
Yeah.
If Texas stays healthy,
I think that's HIPAA.
And you look at what Texas has across that offensive line, you're getting all your dudes back. Ewers should be healthy. You have one of the best running backs. You have one of the best, wide receivers. I think what you have at tight end with Sanders, I think is spectacular. This offense should be really good, and you have inarguably one of the best offensive minds in college football in Steve Sarkisian. I just don't know how Texas fails. And I said it on Twitter today, and everybody got on the Texas always disappoints bandwagon.
It's true.
But you're right.
It's true.
You're right. I'm not even arguing that.
Yeah.
But how do you screw this up? You have one of the best staffs that nobody talks about in the country. You have a deep quarterback room, and I'm telling you, you look at the depth at Texas. And you look at Xavier Worthy, you look at Jatavian Sanders, you look at Quinn Ewers, you look at the offensive line. I mean, Overshawn is a huge loss, but that defense is going to be really good.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't – that's probably a top 2, maybe 3 defense. That could be one of the best defenses in the conference.
Yeah, we're going to find out in week 2, right? When they play Alabama. Alabama.
And where is that? Thank you very much. That is, you're going to Tuscaloosa.
By the way,
but
it's not on Big 12 Network. It's on ESPN.
ESPN.
Just wanted to point that out for everyone.
Listen, I think it's going to be very interesting. The other question you're going to ask yourself is how much do you believe in Brett Venables? Wow. Because I think the folks in Norman are awfully impatient.
Yeah, I'd be pissed too. I mean, that's embarrassing.
Well,
dude.
but you should probably cover your ears for this part.
Here we go.
When you have a guy like Lincoln Riley take a guy like Caleb Williams and go to USC,
I know what time it is.
How are you going to win games? You're not going to win games.
Listen,
Brett Venables,
dude.
If Deion Sanders is set up to fail in Boulders, what was Brett Venables last year in Oklahoma?
Well, no doubt. But I think that the thing for those folks, Oklahoma fan, is it's not like, oh yeah, we wanted to win a natty after Lincoln left. That's not what people were saying. But you can't be embarrassingly bad. Like that's not going to work, dude.
I don't even disagree with that. But how many do they lost so many dudes
but
last year?
Look at some of these. Like you lost to West Virginia last year, bro. Come on.
I think you have to give. And again, please, Oklahoma fan, don't circle the wagons around my house and don't freak out Because every time I've said this on the show, Oklahoma fan comes out of the woodwork and loses their shit. It's not like groundbreaking or, hey, you're a hot take guy, fat ass. Well, not really. Fair. But again, I'll just say, don't you have to throw out last year and hit the reset button with Brett Venables this year? If you lose to there are. If you lose to West Virginia this year, I agree. Fire his ass. Don't let him on the plane or the bus. He's done. He's done. Rip the OU off his chest and his hat and whatever.
It is what it is.
But that's not going to happen. I just
better not, dude. Better not.
It will not happen. I think they are better. I think they have dominated in the transfer portal. I think Oklahoma is still destination football.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I think that you are.
I don't think anyone doubts the brand power of Oklahoma or the reputation of Oklahoma football. I mean, I don't think anyone doubts that. But you know, you just look at some of these, you know, just the way this season went down. Like, this is a good example. Mm-hmm. Like, you beat the living hell out of Nebraska last year, 49-14. And then you lose, you know, 41-34 to K-State. So it's not like you got blown out, but you weren't really contending in that game. You know, like 55 to TCU, 55-24 to TCU, who inevitably turns out to be this amazing team. But that's rough.
They got embarrassed a lot.
Yeah.
You know? A lot. Nobody's gonna look back and say that the loss to West Virginia, but just throw it all out, dude. You had terrible moments in time. You had like
losing to Texas Tech in OT 51-48 is not a bad loss.
But you weren't ill prepared. You weren't completely outcoached. That didn't happen at Oklahoma last year. You just didn't have the bros to compete. You didn't have the dudes. This year, you dominated the portal. You've got the dudes. I think the real questions, if we're dollars to donuts between the Pac-12 and the Big 12, how far does TCU fall?
Yeah.
That's the single biggest question, because if we're looking at this conference outside in, you got to take Texas, right? I don't even think you have to put Texas on top.
Yeah.
That roster, the coaching staff, the depth, the offensive line.
You have to.
You've got to put Texas on top. But I think if we're being totally honest, I think TCU probably falls to 4 or 5. I think they do. What does Baylor do this year?
Yeah.
What K-State? K-State has lost a lot of talent. And I still think they're probably 3rd or 4th in the conference.
Yeah, I mean, TCU being 9-0 in conference last year is crazy, bro.
And there's no way that's happening again.
Bro.
There is no way that's happening again.
And really, you know, like I look at Oklahoma, you're 3-6 in conference last year and made your bread out of conference. You know, like, you know, you look at, again, West Virginia, 3-6 in conference. Like, Oklahoma just can't be that bad again. But
they can't.
Texas needs to be a 9-win team in conference. Absolutely. I mean, you have the talent. There's just no reason not to be. But again, I think that's why they're this team that is, you know, first team all disappointment, right? Because they're every single year. It's like, hey.
But can you really disappoint on your way out the door?
I mean, yeah, I think on some level, I think if you're a Texas fan, you're still saying, yeah, dude, we're on our way out the door, but we still have high expectations. I mean, you don't want to go into the SEC being a 7-win team. You don't want to go into the SEC that way.
But again, and I'm not trying to be an asshole about this. I'm just being, in all seriousness, if Texas were in the SEC, my guess is they're competing for a conference championship this year. That's how good I think Texas is.
Wow.
That's how talented I think Texas is.
Dude, that's a major statement, bro. I mean, they're going to have to show they're that good.
That roster is phenomenal.
That might be true, dude, but you're going to have to show, again, like, I don't know. They may have a great roster, but that's why everyone compares Texas and SC, and like they compare these teams that on paper are amazing, but inevitably never win that one game that you really want them to win, or they never edge out Texas Tech in overtime, or like they don't, win that one game where you're like, hey, dude, like this is a possession by possession game. We're going to the half and Texas is leading by 3. They really should win this game. Like they should be able to control the game, and good quarterback play and good running back play, and like they should be able to execute. But inevitably, what do we get? we get, hey, interception, fumble, big mistake, whatever. Like, that ends up happening. So for me, yeah, I don't disagree. On paper, Texas is SEC good. But show me that on the field. Show me that you can be, if you're SEC good and you're in the Big 12, you should have 9 wins in conference. Like, you should have 9 wins in conference, and you should steamroll your way into the playoff. I mean, that's the kind of season that Texas should have. And I do think they have the talent to produce that result. But again, it's Texas, so I'll believe it when I see it. Much like the Cowboys, Texas always has an amazing roster that can win a Super Bowl, but never seems to get past the NFC divisional round. That's the problem.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. We find out week 2 at Bryant-Denny. We find out how good Texas is, because if you go in there and beat Alabama, who I think is going to be very good again, that's a huge tip of the cap. The question is, how much of a leash does Quinn Ewers have with Manning breathing down his neck? Because you can't tell me that the faithful in Austin don't want Manning starting at quarterback for as long as possible.
Isn't that so Texas? Isn't that Texas to a T as a brand?
Well,
dude, we've got a Lambo sitting on the bench waiting to get in the game, dude. Put me in the game, coach. I'm ready to go.
There's no doubt in my mind. And this is USC. This is Oregon. Oregon and Texas are
perfect example.
Oregon and Texas are almost always the same. Hey, they're really good. Hey, they're going to the Natty. Hey, they lost to your mom's sewing circle.
Oh, that's right. They went to Athens and got curb stomped. That's right, dude.
Right. Exactly. Oregon went to Athens, and they realized they weren't playing Pop Warner anymore. This ain't Friday Night Lights, right?
So do we get to say, hey, Texas went to Tuscaloosa and had a nice week, or do we get to say Texas went to Tuscaloosa and got torched?
I almost feel dumb saying this, so I am dumb.
Nick Saban is a better man than you are.
He's a better man than Sarkisian, but with this offensive line, with that kind of receiving talent at the wide receiver and the tight end, the depth at quarterback, their absolute speed on defense. Dude, if this isn't the year that Texas does it, and how fitting, though, how fitting would it be? Texas goes to Tuscaloosa, mind you, on their way out of the Big 12 to the SEC, they go to Alabama and end the dynasty. Oh my God, that would be that Phyllis will roll in her grave.
Oh, dude. Yeah, dude.
Like,
oh yeah, bro.
If Texas goes to Alabama and wins,
the dynasty is not over.
Hell yeah, it would be.
Kiss my butt.
Anyway,
how pissed off is Big 12 fan now? I don't even want to dip my toe in the water of the comment section.
But I'm serious. How far does TCU fall this year?
I think. I mean, again, you know, what did they finish last year? What are they? A 12-win team last year? What was TCU?
I don't think it. This is so dangerous, and this is the Oklahoma argument. Forget about last year. Because, dude, you know how many important players, just star caliber players, are not at TCU anymore, and. Just forget about last year. It was magical. Duggan, and it was magical. It's over.
13 wins.
It's
2 losses.
I get it. They're not gonna. Do they win 9 games this year? Do they win 9 games this year? I'm telling you, looking at their, you have to. How do you replace Max Duggan? How do you even? Just say that out loud, and I think
Max Duggan.
I think you say out loud, Matt. How do you replace Max Duggan? And Sonny Dykes gets angina. I believe he has angina when he thinks about replacing Max Duggan.
Oh, imagine if you lost to Deion week 1 at home.
Yeah, well, but how many plays
on Fox?
But you guys, how many plays did Quentin Johnston make?
Yeah,
how many? He made play after play. Your quarterback, oh my God, Miller. You're running back, your wide receiver. Like, you're losing. Dude, I'm telling you, they're not a double-digit win team. I think you look at their schedule. I'm telling you, I think they're an 8-9 win team, which is really good.
Yeah, Kendra Miller was a stud.
But that's my point. I'm not saying TCU's going to have a terrible season. They're not Oklahoma. They're West Virginia. No, none of that. But 8-9 wins. after you win 13 games?
Can't back down.
You're gonna backslide. How can you not? Unless you're Kirby and Georgia, and you never backslide.
No, you're always going forward in your SRT, aren't you?
Okay. Wow. Had to go there. Had to go there. Maybe that's why at this juncture of the show you need some Bucked Up. Bucked Up Energy, the official energy provider of the Monty Show. You guys, I feel great because I just had a Buck Bar right before the show started, about 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Well, now it's 34 minutes into the show. So almost an hour ago now. I had a Buck Bar right before the show started. I feel great. I have all kinds of energy. And the thing I love about the Buck Bars, you guys, great ingredients, really nutritionally sound on the whole. They taste good. They're really kind of decadent is the word that comes to mind. But it's that treat that's really good for you because it's packed with protein. Whey protein isolate, the best form of protein you can get. They sweeten it with natural things like dates. I love the Buck Bars. I want to give you a sampler pack of 6 for free. Go get them. It's in the description below. They'll send them right to your front door. I have always hated protein bars, and I know we all need them, right? I've always hated them until I found Bucked Up. And this new Buck Bar, which has only been on the market a couple of months, it has absolutely been a game changer for me. I tell you, every day I use their products. I had my protein shake this morning, had my collagen peptides. Nails are great, skin's great, hair's great, although I don't have much. But my point is, all their products work because they're solid ingredients. Buckedup.com. Make sure you use the promo code Monty to get 20% off at checkout if you're in the great state of Utah. Go to any of their stores, say, hey, I heard about you on the Monty Show. They'll give you a free Bucked Up Energy drink, which, of course, as always, is 0 sugar. The white can's 100. The black can's 300 milligrams of caffeine. Hook it up. Miami's the best flavor.
Boom.
Bucked Up Energy. Whew. 34 minutes of terror talking about how good Texas should be.
And now we find out just how much smoke is in the comments.
Big Bad Brass Balls, who I believe was the first one in today.
This is either going to be excellent or not very good.
UT sucks, and BYU is winning the Big 12. So there.
Well,
listen, I mean, I know they found cocaine in the White House, and you're clearly sampling it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's okay. It's okay. You'll come back to reality at some point.
I mean, at some point. I mean, I don't know that that's today, but at some point.
Todd James says for $1.99. I'm a man. I'm 40. Go Pokes from OKC.
Well,
I'm a man.
Is Gundy coaching for his job?
So get your facts straight.
Because I think who's better than Oklahoma State? I think Kansas is better. Baylor, I think Baylor's really interesting.
Baylor's just out to kick your ass physically. And if you can't handle that, they're going to beat you.
But are they anywhere near the 12-2 that they were in 2021?
I don't know about 12-2. I definitely think the top end, the top of the mountain, best you could ever do is probably 9, right? Like, if you're playing at Baylor. I mean, again, they're that team that prioritizes physicality. And then they're going to measure you. They're going to say, okay, first quarter, we're going to come out and kick your ass physically, and let's see what you do about it. And the teams that do nothing about it are going to get stopped.
Well, and they're going to go with Blake Shapen until he shows that he's the same guy he was last year. If they're not better in the red zone, Oklahoma State will be better. But right now I have to take Baylor over Oklahoma State. Mm-hmm. I think Kansas is better, as I said. I think Texas Tech is a top 3 team in this league this year. Obviously, they're going to have to play really well. I think Bradley's a huge player for them. On the outside, they've got to be explosive. They've got to be very good. I think he's got to break 800 yards this year.
Yeah.
For them to really be the best version of that air raid pew offense
right.
that I love so much. But I think Texas Tech is better than Okie State. I think TCU's better. I think Oklahoma's better. I think the real unknown in this league, in my opinion, is K-State.
Right.
Because I don't know what you make of them. Can they repeat? I'm really curious if K-State is him.
Yeah, I mean, I think K-State's that team that's always going to make your life really difficult when you play them. And I
would
think
agree
the thing
with
with K-State is that it's like this past year, like, they were okay. I mean, they were that team that made you life difficult, but you never really felt like, hey, they're going to get over the top on us. They're gonna get over the hill and win this game. But they just grinded you out repeatedly, and so to me, I feel like this year, if they're going to be a better team, it's just about finishing for them, because they're going to be well coached, they're going to be in a good position, they're going to be in the position to make the play, but it's whether they make that play or not that really limits them.
I am probably delusional about Texas Tech,
Right.
but man, I think they have a chance. They have a chance. They've got some consistency. Well, they've got some consistency. They've got some continuity. A lot of important players have been in the system for multiple years now.
Right.
I think this could be interesting. Spangler, what the heck is up with you, my guy? Being good has little to do with the value of your brand. Notre Dame is average. Please don't start talking about Notre Dame. I don't know what happened with Notre Dame on Twitter today. You guys, Notre Dame football is never going to the ACC.
No.
Stop asking me about it. I love that we tweet and I love that we're on threads together.
Yeah, we're threading.
We're threading. Thank you.
Yeah, we're threading.
I love that we're threading, but please stop. Oh, hey, bro. Listen, I know as a recovering Catholic.
Guys.
Look, I understand. You altar boys are huge Notre Dame fans. They're not going to the ACC.
God bless.
They're not. No, Tebow.
God bless.
No,
God
they're
bless.
not going. They're not. If they're going to a conference, there's only one.
In God's name, image, and likeness.
2 letters and a number 1, the Big Ten. That would be the only conference they would join. And yes, there was a huge fight on Twitter about, hey, can they, listen, they're in the ACC, grant of rights, bitches. And it's like, listen, God's a Notre Dame fan. That's why they don't have a grant of rights for the Notre Dame football product.
Waves in opposition.
They're an independent in football. They can go wherever they want. But now is not the time.
No.
Now is not the time.
No.
I think if they were going to join the Big Ten, they would have done that already. Why wouldn't you have done that with the new deal? And I still maintain, and we've talked about this on the show ad nauseum, I still maintain that Notre Dame is the most valuable sports property as an independent at NBC.
Yeah.
I think they are more valuable than NBC's investment in the Big Ten, because when you put Notre Dame on, and if you re-sign Notre Dame, and I do think they get between 70 and 75 million from NBC.
Right.
I think when you re-sign that deal, you can start matchmaking late night games between Notre Dame and USC on NBC in prime time. That's massive TV audience.
Yeah.
Massive. And if you can matchmake, because you're going to be able to leverage as a TV partner, you're going to have some say in the schedule. If you're leveraging Notre Dame and Ohio State, if we can get Notre Dame and Michigan back on the schedule, why wouldn't we do that?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we do that? Oh, by the way, they don't have to join the Big Ten to do that, because they're in bed with the Big Ten's TV partner at NBC. And what's good for NBC is also good for Fox. And what's good for Fox is good for the Big Ten. It's all this incestuous circle that does not require Notre Dame to marry up to the Big Ten if they don't want to.
Yeah.
Now, I think their life would become much easier if they joined a conference and all of a sudden now you have SC, Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame, and oh my God, if you add Oregon and Washington, now it becomes really valuable for Notre Dame to become a member of the Big Ten. But until all that changes, they're not going to join the Big Ten when they're going to get 70 to 75 million from NBC. And I honestly, I don't think that's that big of a stretch. And I know that there are people out there. I talked to a guy in the TV industry today who said the NBA contract for NBC is already done. The NBA wants back on NBC. NBC wants back on the NBA. That is one of the things I hope people understand. The NBA has a pipeline of advertisers already. So, hey, if you're a TV partner with the NBA, you're probably getting T-Mobile. You're probably getting Kia. You're probably getting the branded partners of the NBA. That's why it's so good to be in business. And people talk about, ESPN's struggling. Why would they renew the NBA for, I think it's $5 billion a year? Because they're making that at a minimum with the baked-in $5 billion. And they're making that already with the baked-in advertisers that the NBA brings to the table.
Yeah.
For people like us, we're playing with dollar bills. They're playing with $1 million bills, right? Like they're in a different stratosphere. So while we think $5 billion a year on NBA content seems outrageous, it's really not. So $75 million a year at NBC, when you have baked in Notre Dame partners who are going to support that product on NBC because they want Michigan, they want USC. And you look at Notre Dame's schedule, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like that is a really good product. You look at the game in Vegas last year with BYU.
BYU.
I mean, the Catholics versus the Mormons was incredibly profitable for everybody involved. You know how hard it was to get a ticket to that game?
Yeah.
Let alone the TV audience? Like, it's crazy to me. And I say this, and thanks a lot, Spangler. Lighting the world on fire. Anyway.
Okay, that's enough. Stop, please.
Please. Jeremy Callahan, Texas will lose in Ames in November. That's almost a given. My God, would that be terrible? Saul Goodman says cow turd.
Mm-hmm.
You know. The eclectic cowboy.
Cow turd.
Why did you change the subject to Texas instead of how great the PAC is relative to the Big 12? You know, we struggle to write English in this show. I'll get on our editors and the people who don't actually exist.
Filling in for somebody.
Yeah, we'll
out of here.
Yeah, we'll put them on paper. We'll write them up for changing that title. Terrible. Jake, remind me to have a team meeting tomorrow.
I will. I'll get the Google Calendar invite sent out. You know,
all two of us.
Right.
Confirm. Monty likes Texas's tight ends. Tell me what's not to like.
Well,
in all seriousness, have you guys seen Jatavian Sanders? Do you guys know who that is? Like he and that.
Again, last name is Sanders. Just saying.
The offensive line at Texas. I mean, I think it's going to be very difficult for them not to have one of the best passing offenses in the country.
What do you bench?
It's going to be really difficult because you have a far more experienced, cohesive, chemistry-built offensive line.
Yep.
And in college football, man, you cannot put a price tag on that.
Nope.
That is usually a ticket to a couple of games in January of consequence. And if you have the quarterback talent, the wide receiver talent, the tight end talent, the offensive line talent, and a defense that does nothing but run fast, dude, they're going to struggle to lose games.
Yes.
They should. But to your point, Sarkisian always finds a way.
Y'all feel me?
And maybe this is a year he doesn't.
Maybe that's his biggest credit. Always finds a way to get the job done of disappointing.
What do you mean I skipped your comment?
Oh, God, here we go.
Mike Rayner says Texas looks good every year. Bryce Martin, would you say if TCU makes a college, what would you say if TCU makes a college football playoff again? Just put Sonny Dykes in bronze and put him in the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
They lost a lot, but they replaced with quality talent. Yeah, but the problem is at the top of the Big 12.
Yeah.
You have, again, with Texas, not to keep going back to Texas, but you have a program at Texas that didn't lose a lot, and what they lost, they upgraded. And what they lost, they gained in continuity on the offense.
Right.
And I think another year for Ewers in that system, the competition he had to go through with Arch Manning, and you look at the fan support that Manning had, and they still gave him the job.
Right.
And I think it was the right decision based on everything I heard, saw, and read. Seems like the right decision. Because when he was healthy, which I get it, he wasn't, and maybe he won't be healthy this year. I don't know. But when he was healthy, he was actually effective.
Yeah.
And now you have better weapons and more experience. And who are we kidding? When you have the defense and the offense that Texas has, do you know how hard it is to coach that and be successful? Man. That's why guys like Saban are legends.
Yes.
Because you have that kind of talent on both sides of the ball every single year, and the pressure doesn't mean a thing
Nick
to you.
Saban is a better man than you are.
If you look at all of the coaches who have failed to live up to the expectations of their talent and their rosters, that's a story that replays itself every single year in multiple programs.
You view this season as a failure?
Yeah, probably dozens of programs. But guys like Saban and guys like Kirby and guys like Purvin, Guys like, name, image, and likeness. Like you look at the best coaches. They don't feel pressure. Ryan Day, I agree with you. Replacing Pervin Meyer, do you know how difficult that is, especially with hot blondes at Urban Sports Bar?
We built this program on NIL.
He's handled it. And not my favorite guy right there has also handled it.
Kind of like Pervin did.
But look at Kyle Whittingham.
Yeah.
Kyle Whittingham's defense every single year is expected to be elite.
Yep.
And it is.
Be elite and put guys in the league.
And they do. Right? Like again, Dalton Kincaid is probably the best example of this. We were talking to a guy here in our office today.
Yeah.
About Dalton Kincaid. And you look at what if Brant Keithy does not get hurt last year?
Dude, sky's the limit, bro. Sky's the limit.
Does anybody know the name Dalton Kincaid? Well, yeah, in the conference maybe. Like, he was a good number 2 option. He ain't going in the NFL draft.
No.
Right? Like, but he did. And what happened? Dalton Kincaid was ready to step up.
Yep.
He was ready to step up, and he did.
Your coaching staff does a great job.
And they don't feel pressure.
Yeah.
You don't feel pressure. Greg Swain back again. Says, just can't get fooled again on Texas until they actually do something several years in a row. Dude, here, I agree. I see all the comments on Texas.
Look, I don't think there's anything wrong with talking about Texas's potential. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, again,
something we do every year, man.
Yeah, dude. I mean, Texas, Dallas Cowboys, Victor Wembanyama in San Antonio. Like, the state of Texas is notorious for telling you they're the best and absolutely showing up empty-handed on Thanksgiving. I mean, that's what they do. That is their brand. So I don't think there's anything wrong with talking about potential. But again, I'm with the old Swaimster here and everyone else.
The Swaimster.
Bro, got to show me before I believe. Seeing is believing, as they say, right? So Texas needs to show me that they can get it done before I'm like, yeah, Texas is a great team.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's one of the reasons I'm really excited to be at Big 12 Media Day next week. It's going to be fantastic. Big 12 Media Day on Wednesday and Thursday, presented by Big 12 Media Day. Hello? All right, take 2. Really excited to be at Big 12 Media Day next Wednesday and Thursday, presented by our good friends at BladeHQ.com. And you guys just open up the website right now as we sit here and talk about it, because their daily deals are really spectacular. They have 25% off on a lot of their products on a pretty regular basis. And you know about BladeHQ.com because you get the best knives from the best knife brands. And whether that is We Knife or ProTech or Kershaw, Spyderco, obviously, Benchmade, like all the best brands, all the best blades, you get that, right? But you also get tomahawks. You also get batons. You also get outdoor gear, everything you need. Whether it is very simple, a simple carabiner, whether it is, a flashlight, a lantern, backpacks, whatever you need to be an outdoor survivalist, you've got it at BladeHQ.com. They're a great local company. I know Mark and his team. I've been dealing with them now for well over a month on this Big 12 project, and they are just really good people to work for, really good people to work with. And as a customer, I cannot tell you how committed to service BladeHQ.com is. Go check them out right now. Tell them you heard about it on the Monty Show. BladeHQ.com. Free shipping on all of your orders over $99 at BladeHQ.com, who presents our coverage of Big 12 Media Day next week in, let's get it right.
Yeah, don't mess this up.
Tarrant County, boys. Them boys in Dallas, they're all hat, no cattle over here.
All hat, no cattle.
Over here in Arlington, we're the real deal.
My word.
Steers, boy. Anyway, we'll be at AT&T Stadium, which, by the way, this trip has gotten redonkulously expensive.
Yeah, dude, and we're not even golfing on this trip, which is absolutely outrageous.
Golf was included in that. I was going to surprise you in golf by myself. But we're going to have to go have some nice meals.
Yeah.
That we have to pay $2,000 for an internet connection at AT&T Stadium. The internet
I thought you said it was $2,000
for 2 days of internet.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
$2,000 for 2 days of internet in Dallas next week. No, you guys, I said $2,000.
Bro, it's ridiculous,
Not
man.
two. I said $2,000. Dude.
That's a straight pipe job,
It hurts
bro.
my head.
That's
so
a pipe job.
Please hit the like button
Please tip us,
if you
please.
feel so inclined.
Please
tip
Bro.
us. We're begging you. No, I'm kidding. But it's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. Christopher Shannon, in a hole in the wall place called Jarrah World.
Yeah, you know, just some hole in the wall, a little place down by the border.
Going to be down in that convention center down there in Tarrant County.
Yeah.
I think they call it Jarrah World.
Yeah, where they circumcise skeeters.
Mark Ruckert says final Big 12 standings will be determined by 40% talent, 30% coaching, 25% luck, and 10% the schedule draw.
Man, you're big percentages, guys, my man.
I don't know. I got to take my socks off. Does that add up to? That doesn't add up to 100, my man. That's 70. It's like 95. Okay, we'll move on now. Jeff Seal.
I don't know. I don't know if I don't know quite. I don't quite know how to answer that, to be honest.
Jeff Seal says everything is bigger in Texas, including the bill. Yes.